remain in Washington, D.C. through at least February. The order, originally set to expire at the end of November, has been extended by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Nearly 2,400 troops are currently stationed in the capital, a deployment costing about $1 million a day. This move comes just weeks after Washington, D.C. officials sued the Trump administration, calling the presence of troops an involuntary military occupation. A federal judge in California had earlier ruled that a similar deployment to Los Angeles was illegal, though that decision does not directly apply to Washington. The extension marks another step in Donald Trump's growing use of federal forces to curb crime in major U.S. cities, including Chicago and potentially San Francisco, Portland, and New York. Now for this discussion, we welcome Robinder Sachdev. He's the author of Trumpotopia, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Robinder Sachdev, for joining us again. Good to see you. As yesterday we were discussing that you stated that there's a revolution going on in U.S. and now looking at this, how does this prolonged deployment of National Guard in U.S. cities reflect on the government's respect for civil liberties during this uprising?
Thank you. A pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
It is not about respect for civil liberties. I think if you talk to the Trump and the MAGA people, they'll rather say it's about safety and security of the citizens of the country. They believe that left and socialist elements are out there to create disruptions in the country in various aspects, for which the federal government has to take some stern and immediate actions. The key action which they find and with which they are going ahead is to deploy the National Guard within their cities. In fact, from January 1, I think there is a plan that every state in the United States, there will be a quick reaction force of 500 National Guards. Right now, these guards are being sent mostly to, let's say, Democrat-leaning states and cities. But January onwards, it would be blanket. All 50 states in the United States would have a contingent, a so-called or a quick reaction force. Through this, Trump is signaling, and that's what his base wants, a strong position, a strong stance, strong action on law and order, illegal immigration, and crime. So this is part and parcel of the agenda of the Trump administration. And as to the revolution, which I was saying and which I do say, this is part of that revolution. That American cities should be completely safe, no allowance given to any rule breakers, so to say. And if needed, the might and the shine and the overwhelming power of the US military should be used to tackle these elements. In fact, at times, the Trump administration has even said that there is an invasion, if you may remember, regarding the illegal immigrants coming in from the Mexico border and also the drugs. So there are various views: an invasion, socialist communists out, illegal immigrants taking over our country. So it's a mix of all of these things, and high crime because of many illegal immigrants. That's the reason said to be. This is what is leading Trump administration to push ahead with deploying National Guards all across the country or wherever they are, the matter comes to their light. Yes, they are facing legal challenges, but they will try to appeal to the next level of a court or the next level of a court, reaching up to the Supreme Court. In some cases, in the local and high courts, they may lose out, they may step away. But the broad pattern is that the Trump administration has decided and is pushing ahead with deploying the might of the military within America.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Please stay with us as we stay on this region now. U.S. President Donald Trump has declared victory over what he calls the climate change hawks. following remarks by Bill Gates suggesting that global warming would not bring about the end of civilization. In a post on Truth Social, Trump has claimed that he had won the war on the climate change hoax, praising Gates for what he called a courageous admission. In a memo this week, the Microsoft co-founder has said that climate change would have serious effects but would not cause humanity's demise, arguing that innovation in poverty reduction could help the world adapt. Gates has also acknowledged criticism over his carbon footprint, but said that progress in clean energy and emission cuts gives reason for cautious optimism. Trump, a longtime climate skeptic, has rolled back multiple green policies since returning to office in January, after a campaign heavily backed by big oil donors. The president's remarks drew swift reactions from environmental groups, warning that minimizing climate risks could undermine global efforts to curb the emissions. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Rabinder Sachdev. He's the author of Trumpotopia, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much for staying with us. Sir, maybe you have mentioned this in your writing in Trumpotopia, but how does Trump's framing of climate change as a hoax shape his political base as well as influence on U.S. environmental policy? And what do you think, what does Trump's response to Bill Gates' comments reveal about his approach?
See, Trump's big picture view with respect to, let's say the environment also within the US is driven by a market approach, in a sense that he believes that the markets, quote unquote, rather free markets, would balance out things. That is one. Secondly, yes, regarding the issue of climate change, Trump has been either you can say a denier or a non-believer in that what is happening on planet Earth is not driven as much by humanity or the actions of humanity, but is driven by, let's say, forces beyond planet Earth. Now, what Gates has said has definitely given Trump a cause to celebrate and say that, he has been right. However, if you see what Gates is saying, Gates is putting out a very nuanced view. As you also said, Gates has said that, let's say there are these three big issues facing humanity: climate change, disease, and poverty. In Gates' view, climate change is not such a great danger that it could lead to the complete elimination of the civilization. But in his view, disease or some future disease could have that potential sooner. Look back, COVID. Secondly, also poverty. So, Gates is putting forth a nuanced view. Also, what Gates is saying, and to that I do partially also agree, he says that the investments which have been made in the cause of climate change and various efforts, various plans, various schemes, too much good money has gone down without commensurate impact or results. That is, yes, what Gates is saying, money should be, and he's talking about carbon, the carbon footprint, etc., carbon emissions to be reduced and all. But his point is also that much money is being invested in schemes which are outlandish, and therefore he's saying that philanthropists and governments should not put all their money or majority or as much of their money into the climate change projects, but should also put their money, philanthropy money, into disease and poverty reduction, especially because the US government, the USAID, right, which would typically be funding such projects on poverty and health and disease prevention, that whole spigot has been turned off. So Gates' view, I think, is nuanced, but yes, he does seem to be saying, he is saying that climate change is not such an imminent danger to the civilization itself as compared to disease and poverty. So therefore, the monies which have been dried up in disease prevention and poverty alleviation should be pumped back in, and philanthropists should divert their money somewhere here. The big picture overall would be that Okay, agreed, climate change is not an immediate danger to civilization. But if you look the past 2 years or 3 years, or especially this year, every year events driven by Mother Nature are causing bigger and bigger havoc across the world. The rains, the floods. Okay, keep aside the typhoons and hurricanes like in Jamaica yesterday. They are maybe different. But if you look like, let's say, Pakistan, one third the nation was flooded. Right. You look Europe, you look anywhere in the world. These major changes which are happening, which have never occurred earlier, how can they be explained? Okay. The question then comes, how much of these changes which are happening are driven by human contributions to carbon emissions? I think the jury is out there, or rather, this whole debate has now opened up uh, this debate. I think Bill Gates' essay has opened up this debate now, and the jury will be out. There will be a lot of discussions, but bottom line, I would think that we should keep in mind Gates is not saying that climate change is hoax. He's saying climate change, too much money has been going into climate change programs. Lesser money should go there, more money should now go into disease, health, and poverty reduction, because there, the traditional monies which were there from the US government, especially the US aid and others, had dried up.
Very insightful indeed. Thank you for shedding light on the behind the scenes of all of this. Thank you very much, Rupinder Sachdev, for joining us and sharing that insight as an author of Trumpotopia. Now we move on to our next news. As California prepares for a crucial vote on Proposition 50 this November 4th, political scientist Sarah Sadhwani, who served on the state's independent commission, offers insight into the stakes of the redistricting effort. If passed, Proposition 50 would replace the current congressional map, tipping the balance in favor of Democrats in 5 districts. Let's listen in.
Here in California, we have an independent redistricting commission, which is completely separate from the state government. And we are tasked with drawing district lines for Congress. Here in California, we have 52 seats. So that means we drew 52 different districts. This map is actually the congressional map that me and my colleagues drew from the commission. There is a very real attempt to rig this election nationally. Californians do not have to stand by and take the bullying of this threat from the president and from other states. They can respond, and Prop 50 does so in the most democratic way possible. This is not the governor just moving forward with new maps. This is the governor going back and asking Californians, if they want to take a break from our independent process in order to fight back.
In Los Angeles, canvassing teams are actively working together to support for a dramatic referendum that could reshape California's electoral map. Voters are being asked to approve a measure that would amend the state's constitution, redrawing boundaries to create 5 districts favorable to Democrats. Let's listen in.
I'm actually not a fan of gerrymandering, but this is a special time, and special time requires special actions. If we don't regain the power of Congress, if Democrat does not regain the power of the Congress, I cannot imagine what will happen to the rest of Trump's term.
More and more people are learning about Proposition 50. A huge reason why we're canvassing is to inform people about this special election. A lot of it has been happening so last minute that a lot of people haven't known about it. And we live in a country where voter turnout is so low. And so the canvassing is to really inform people about this civic engagement opportunity.
And that's a wrap on America 360. Keep watching NewsX World for more.